Hi and welcome to another edition of Wolves World. Before I get started in the video, please don't forget to hit like, subscribe and follow me on my other platforms including Instagram and Twitter, which are both at NorthernWolf10. So today's video is going to be about the recent transactions of recalling Cutrone and Morgan Gibbs-White. I'd like to share my opinion on those things. I'll have a quick preview of Crystal Palace and generally just a few other things that have come to mind since our last game of last year. So first of all, Morgan Gibbs-White being recalled for me is actually quite a sensible choice. I do think that he will feature in the same way that maybe Vitinha has featured in the last few weeks, probably not really starting consistently unless he performs very well, but he's another body on the bench with some experience. Added to that, he's just returned to the Swansea squad last week for the first time after a decent injury layoff. How fit he is, we'll have to wait and see. Possibly the Crystal Palace game will come too soon for him, but I do think he's a really good body to have back in the squad. Last time we were discussing Gibbs-White, really in a Wolves shirt, he was breaking lockdown rules. Now, this is something that I'm assuming he has learnt from. He hasn't suffered greatly with the repercussions of that, and I think those kind of actions now will need to be removed from his sort of personal life, social media, these things. He needs to really knuckle down and focus now, because this chance back at Wolves has come half a season earlier than many expected. And while he was rated well during his performances at Swansea, he has a lot to prove in a Wolves shirt to many fans, like myself, who think all the talent is there, but possibly the decision making, the work rate, and just generally the experience isn't. He is going to get that now more than if he'd have stayed from the start of the season, and I think his experiences at Swansea will serve him well, playing good football in a good team. It's also worth noting Nuno has shown a tweak to tactics, employing more of a number 10 or a bit of a higher midfielder. This is something that we had not done when Gibbs-White was previously at the club, so I'm actually quite excited for him, because if there was a position purpose-built for Gibbs-White, it is that kind of number 10 in behind role. Whether it's one or two strikers in front of him, he hasn't got any excuses this time around once he regains his fitness and gets a run in the team. And I think he'll do possibly well, possibly not, but overall, good choice returning him to the squad. Next up is the pizza and pasta man, Patrick Cutrone. Now, I think this one has really split some opinion across Wolves fans. One of my main points on Cutrone is this needs to not slow down or stop the process of hunting for another striker just because we've recalled him. I do think he's got some ability. I do think he's more ready right now than Fabio Silva, although in the future I don't think their expectations are comparable. But I think he has the option now of coming back and really committing to Wolverhampton Wanderers for 6 months. His loan spells haven't worked out. Wolves probably wouldn't have wanted to do this, but as a player that already exists without any expense on their books, I think this is another good choice from Wolves. He may come in and do nothing, he may come in and not even play, but he's another body in a squad that is seriously depleted. Cutrone's all-action style of play also, I think, will suit Nuno if he opts to play with two strikers or, again, a striker and a man in behind. Cutrone's real problem for me when he was here the first time was when we played with a central striker. Obviously, he was back up to Jimenez, but he isn't the same type of player as Jimenez and struggled in that system. Cutrone, I think, needs someone in and around him to play neat one-touch football to hopefully create an opportunity off a knockdown or a smart short pass. I don't think he's the type of player who's going to go on and do it all by himself in the way that Jota Traore might do, or indeed Jimenez. He doesn't possess the physical skills that Jimenez has. Both these players, Cutrone and Gibbs-White, will definitely feature and contribute throughout the rest of the season, regardless of any other signings or injuries or recoveries from injuries Wolves might have. I do think Cutrone will score and possibly do a bit better than he did the first time around, mainly because he'll get more minutes. However, I'm not expecting this to be Cutrone becoming a Wolves player for many years to come on the back of this, but he will cause or have an immediate impact. Gibbs-White, on the opposite side of that, I think might struggle immediately because I think he still is off the pace and he's coming over an injury. But longer term, this is the right thing for Gibbs-White, and if he can't make it work in these sort of 5-6 months, then I think his time at Wolves may also be coming to an end, which is a shame, but it's one of those things in football. You might have all the ability, but without the right effort, work rate, and a bit of luck, you're not going to get there, and I think this is a big few months for Gibbs-White now. Other transfers to discuss. Costa seems to have quietened down, which I think was probably expected. I think he is expensive, and I think Wolves fans were getting a bit ahead of themselves, including myself, over the fact he'd cancelled his contract. He is still going to be looking for big bucks. He's a player who can still make the big bucks, especially in obscure countries like China. And I'm not sure that Wolves right now is the best fit for him, which is a shame, but with other options becoming available, I can live with that. Jovic has been described as quite a speculative effort, and I think that is probably dead before it started, but it was nice to see Wolves have the opportunity to be linked with players of that quality for the future moving forwards. Josh King is the one for me that I don't think will get across the line quickly, but I am feeling like Josh King will probably be a Wolves player in the not too distant future. The £10 million price tag, I personally think is quite a good deal. I think he'll be worth that for a long time, even if he struggles at Wolves. I think he'll recuperate that money. He hasn't played a lot, and he's got something to play for with his international career, and his fact he wants to prove a point that he's a Premier League footballer still. So I think he would still be a smart signing, and he would happily, I think, play as cover behind Jimenez if and when he returns. The last player to talk about is Origi. Again, not dead in the water, but I don't think Wolves will be splashing the big bucks on him, especially given the return of Cutrone. I think if we can get him in for a few £1 million loan deal till the end of the year, any goals he scores or any positions he can boost Wolves up the table will make that a smart move. If there's an option to buy at the end, it needs to be an option, not a guarantee, because there is no guarantee that he will come and be a success. I do think he would be, and I'd like to see Wolves follow that through. However, not so sure, and with Cutrone returning, who is fit and ready, that sort of urgency for that transfer has dropped a little. Okay, moving on to Palace. It's important to say the FA Cup still means a lot to all fans, and I think Wolves fans in particular. Yes, I don't think it's likely we're going to win it, but we saw from that run to the semi-final 2 seasons ago that it's nice to get those extra games. Even with this depleted squad, I think there is a chance here where Wolves could just get some excitement to a season that otherwise is going to be quite possibly hard to see anything really of note coming out of it, apart from maybe the odd good performance. But I think this FA Cup run is something Nuno and Wolves need to get behind. With that being said, and the injuries and the recalls, I have absolutely no idea what team Nuno is going to choose on Friday night. I think it's fair to say most fans would get quite a sizable reward if they were able to select this team as it stands right now. We know we've got certain injuries and players out. We don't know the exact fitness of Gibbs-White and Cutrone, but I do think Nuno has options with them returning and some youngsters as well. Here is the team I would go for to attack Crystal Palace tomorrow night. Firstly, I would like to see Patricio keep his place in goal. I am aware that he likes to play Ruddy in the cup games, but I don't think Patricio's been at his best recently, and I'd like to see him start. I would also go to a back four and almost play a 4-4-2 formation, even though players like Cutrone and Silva could rotate in this option. I'd like to see Moutinho out and Otasowie in. Only reason for that is Otasowie I'm quite impressed with, and I think I could see him getting the minutes and being physical against a busy Crystal Palace midfield. Neves still needs to find some form. I think Moutinho, when he has played, has been quite consistent. Neves could do with the games to keep his form up. Traore and Neto for me have to start. I can't see anyone else who could play in those positions. Neto, obviously, best player currently. And this is a great opportunity to see if Cutrone and Silva could play together. If Cutrone is indeed fully fit, I would be definitely pushing to see him start this match, and alongside Silva, just to see if having two strikers is something which neither of them have done in their Wolves career so far, is something that maybe could work for them. So that is what I would like to see. However, Nuno being Nuno, it is not going to be easy to select a team, and I do think, even though Crystal Palace are a bit fragile at times, they are a team that Wolves could beat, and I think Nuno will go at this game playing what he thinks is his best formation and possibly his best lineup, which looks like this. He will, I think, switch to John Ruddy in goal. I don't see why. Ruddy, whether he stays on net next season, this is not a game that I would be playing him in, but still, I think it'll happen. I think he'll revert to the 5 with Max Kilman coming back into the side, and I think he'll play Semedo instead of Hoover, again, because Semedo still needs to get that run of consistent performances and games under his belt. I think he'll play Vitinha and Moutinho midfield, mainly because Neves is not playing as well as Moutinho, so I would have taken the other approach, but I think he'll stick with the players who are playing well, and I think he'll give Vitinha another start, knowing that probably 50-60 minutes he'll come off, and that'll probably be for Gibbs-White, possibly if fit, or Neves if the game maybe requires his sort of skill set. He'll again stick with Traore and Neto because without Podence I can't see what else he can do there. And I think he will start Fabio Silva up front as a lone striker, go into the formation we've seen employed many times in his career as Wolves manager. And I think Fabio Silva, if he's going to be a success at Wolves, does need to practice playing this way. So, with all that being said, I fancy the Crystal Palace-Wolves game to be a slightly tense affair for fans. I do hope Wolves take it on themselves to get at Crystal Palace, because defensively they haven't looked great or really consistent this season, and we do know they have the possibility in players like Zaha and AU where they can score goals, and they struggled at Molineux earlier in the season, but I think they're not actually that bad a team and certainly are comparable to Wolves at the moment. If Wolves sit back, I think we will get beat in a dull game. If Wolves go at them, I think we should be turning this game over, even if it's 1 or 2-0 or 2-1. I'd just like to see a bit of control in the game from Wolves and really try and put the hammer down to get through to the next round. So that's all from me today. Thank you very much. Please don't forget to hit like, subscribe, check me out on my other platforms, Instagram and Twitter in particular, and I'll do a match review of the Crystal Palace game over the weekend. See you soon. Thanks very much. Bye bye.